and welcome to the Aspiring Home Cook. My name is Trisha, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful flour tortillas at home. These are simple to make and require just a couple of ingredients that are pantry staples in almost every kitchen, and they turn out so much better than the store-bought type. So let's quickly take a look at the recipe and start putting together these tortillas. We're going to start by making our dough. For this, take 2 cups of plain flour or all-purpose flour in a wide mixing bowl. To this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. You can adjust the amount of salt to suit your preferences. And 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm just using regular sunflower oil over here. And we're just going to start by mixing all of these ingredients together. As we are mixing this up, make sure that you're breaking down any large clumps of oil and flour that you might find. You're doing this to incorporate that oil and salt and flour thoroughly. Once that's done, we're going to use a little lukewarm water and bring this together to form a nice soft dough. I used about 3/4 of a cup of water. But you may need a little less or a little more depending on the batch of flour that you're working with. So add the water in gradually and knead until this all comes together. A good indicator of a dough that's nice and soft and supple is when it all comes together nice and neatly from your bowl, as well as it doesn't stick to your fingers too much. Like you can see here, as I've continued kneading this dough, it has all come away from the pan and away from my hands. So I know that there's a good amount of moisture, it's not overly sticky. I'm happy with how this is starting to come together. I'm just going to continue kneading this for about another minute or so just to make sure everything has mixed through nice and well. And once that's done, I'm just going to smoothen it out and form a little ball. Flatten it a little, cover it with a kitchen towel and leave this aside to rest for about 30 minutes. Once the dough has rested, I'm just very quickly going to bring this together, just fold it over. I'm now going to portion this out. Your portion size will depend on what you're using these tortillas for. If you intend making tacos, you'll need to break away smaller portions of the dough. I intend using mine to make these gorgeous cauliflower wraps, and yes, that's going to be the next video on my channel. So stay tuned, and if you want to check it out, subscribe to the channel, click on that little bell icon so that you get notified as soon as I upload my next video. But back to the recipe, I'm using these tortillas for those wraps, so I'm leaving them slightly on the larger side. I've managed to get 7 portions out of these 2 cups of flour, and I'm now going to roll these to form nice smooth balls. You can see that I'm using my thumb to tuck in the flour at the bottom so that the edges of these portions turn out nice and smooth. And I'm going to do this for all those 7 portions. Now at this point, I must mention that you can do the same thing with whole wheat flour as well. Just replace your all-purpose flour with whole wheat flour and they'll turn out just as well. If you're using whole wheat flour, you can start rolling them out immediately. Since we're using all-purpose flour, we need to cover these portions and let them rest for about at least another 15 to 20 minutes so that the gluten in there relaxes, and that will make it a lot easier to roll out your tortillas. Once that dough has rested, we're going to work with 1 portion at a time. Keep the rest of the portions covered at all times so that they don't dry out. Lightly flour your work surface as well as that portion of dough so that the dough doesn't stick to the surface. I'm also going to flour my rolling pin, and we're going to roll this out to form our tortillas. Now the size really, like I said, depends on what you intend using it for, but one thing to keep in mind is that you need to try and roll this as thin as possible. As a guide, about 1/8 of an inch. I don't really measure, I just roll it out as thinly as I possibly can and dust my surfaces with a little all-purpose flour as I go along to make sure the dough doesn't stick to it. And make sure you rotate your tortilla in between. You lift and rotate the tortilla, flouring your board as you need to make sure that it doesn't stick to the board. Now once you're happy with the size and the thickness of your tortilla, we're now ready to get started with the cooking process. I dust off any extra dry flour and take this over to the stovetop. Now on my stovetop, I've got a cast iron pan that's been heating on some medium-high heat. The pan is nice and hot. It's not screaming hot, but it needs to be sufficiently hot. Gently place your tortilla on the pan and leave it to cook on one side for about a minute or so, or until you see little bubbles or pockets of air developing on your tortilla. Once these little bubbles start appearing, you know that you're almost ready to flip it over. Before you can flip it over, just check the bottom to make sure that you've got a few light golden brown spots developing. Once you're happy with those golden brown spots, you can flip it over and let it continue to cook on the second side as well. While it's cooking on this side, I like to tease those little air pockets gently using my spatula itself to help those air pockets expand and make the tortillas nice and light. Remember, it's important to not overcook your tortillas at this stage because that could result in them becoming really hard and unpleasant. So you're just looking for slight golden brown spots or patches like you can see here, and you know your tortillas are done once you see that come through. If you're serving them immediately, you're okay to take this a little bit further, but if you need to reheat it before you serve, I would recommend taking it off the heat at this stage. Take your tortilla off the pan, place it on a plate. I like to put one fork overturned on the plate before I can start stacking my tortillas. That way there's a little ventilation and the tortillas don't get soggy while you cook the rest of them. In this manner, I'm going to continue rolling and cooking off the rest of my tortillas. And once you're done with all your tortillas, you're going to be rewarded with a beautiful stack of homemade flour tortillas. These are soft, these are delicious. You can use them to make wraps, quesadillas. You can use them for any recipe that calls for a flour tortilla. And like I said before, they turn out so much better than the store-bought varieties. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share this video with family and friends that you think might enjoy it too. And I hope you'll give this recipe a try. If you do, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of it. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm going to see you really soon with another delicious recipe. So till then, take care. Bye.